Wagwan, welcome back. I've had such a long week. My goodness. I spent a full 7 days, right? A full 7 days trying to learn how to code a health system and to make that health system interactable by attacks. And it was not simple at all. I'm exhausted. I'm mad that it took a full 7 days. It's Monday now. Last Monday was when I started this. This Monday is when, not technically, I did finish it Sunday, but it feels like I just completed it, but, like today. It's only been we're only a few hours, right, into my Monday. It's like 5:30 right now in the morning. And I just woke up. My goodness. Alright, but anyway, that's neither here nor there. The player health system took everything from me this week, but I got it down and it now exists appropriately and it's interactable and I can take damage and I have a UI system. If you can't see this weird thing right here, UI system. I'm gonna clean that up this week. That's gonna look better. By the next video, it's gonna look better. But we have a health system, yeah, and it works. And our enemy also has a health system. Well, he always had a health system, but now I can touch it. If that makes sense. I mean, it does make sense. I can touch it now. I can touch his health. He can't touch mine. However, this bullet can touch mine. And it'll do 5 damage. Actually, it'll do double that because I don't understand what I did to make it where it does double damage that I set. I don't understand. I'm trying to. I'm going to try to get that down, but right now it's controllable and I can make it do 10 damage, even though it clearly says that it does 5 damage. It doesn't do 5 damage, it does 10. It's a liar, but I'll figure out why it's lying to me soon enough. Right now, I need to put a current health on our enemy, just so that I can see that his health is dropping, but of course I can destroy it. It does take 4 hits. If we go to our player character, here's our 120 health, but also here's the 4 damage that we actually do to other players right now, because of course we want our main character to be able to level up. Right now he's not leveled up, he's using he'll be using basic weapons. I think a beam sword is kind of not a basic weapon, so I should probably make him punch. I think that's what I'm gonna do, and then have him, have this scrounge for a weapon. But at the moment, regardless of what I choose, his base attack is gonna be 4. It might change. That might change. I take that back. That might change. I might change that. But right now, anyway, he does 4 damage. If he's punching, that may change. But right now, he does 4 damage. But something that we can check right now. Is this running? No, it's not. What we can check, if you want to look, a part of our UI system, we have a flash. I'm gonna leave the room and come back. Our UI is gonna disappear and then come back because it's weird. Oh, and I gotta drop the UI. It's too high. It's right here. That's weird. Yeah, I gotta figure out how to. I'll explain what this week's gonna be about. But anyway, so when I go towards the player character, it will show our max health consistently, but it will also show our current health, which is of course current, and you can watch it go down slowly. So we'll watch that in a second as soon as I get on the right screen. So as he hits us, he'll approach, he'll fire. If you see the fire, it goes straight and the bullet disappears after it hits us. Also, there's a little flash. It's supposed to be a part of the UI system. It's supposed to flash red as we take damage. Of course, I'm going to change that. But if you look to our current health, we're almost dead. Taking 40, now 30, now 20, now 10. And we're going to be dead. And now we're dead. Alright. So that took me a week, sadly, to do. That's what I spent doing this week. Something that simple. And it wasn't that simple according to the script. It wasn't very understandable. I'll show you real quick what that looks like. Alright, so here is on our right, which is where we're going to put our focus right now. On our right, this is our enemy's health. It is followable. It makes sense, right? At the top, right here, these are just things that we put in so that the game knows what systems it needs to reference or reach into, and what systems need to be editable. So right now, we just have, the only thing that I can edit is the max health, which we saw if I go to our enemy in the health script. He has a max health of 16. We can change that to anything, and we can play around with it. So that's what that establishes. The current health just says that it will track its current health and that the current health will change. We can't see that, but the game can, because when we attack it, we do 4 damage. It has 16 hits that it can take. Alright, 16 hits that it can take. And so when we go to it, he'll come towards us. I'm gonna jump over all that. Miss me with all that bullshit. And then we attack. Oh god. We attack. 3 hits. And, well, 4 hits. On the 4th hit, it acknowledges taking damage before the animation, completes. So that's why it looked like it was only 3 hits. So that's something that I also gotta work on, for the animation to finish first, and then really I need to make it where there's a lot of stuff I need to do with the animation. What it should do is it should acknowledge what frame for that attack point to deliver damage, and that's what it's not doing. It's doing it for the whole cycle of the attack. So that's the issue with that, and I'll need to look into that at some point, but not this week. But yeah, so it has that. After you establish those 2 things, really just is dead and the max health, so that you know that is changeable, that you can set it. And I guess current health too. Current health, well, yes, of course, current health, because the health needs to change from its max. So after that, you just need to establish that the current health will equal max health upon start. Once the game starts, which is awake, the current health will reflect the max health. But current health can always be changeable. We just have to dictate what it will be changeable by, and that's what we do in this take damage portion. This portion, take damage, establishes just that. What happens as you take damage? Well, the current health will be minus the amount that's given to it, and that is determined by whatever we establish here in our player combat to the left. And then once they're being attacked, if they die, return to, I'm not sure what this is actually. If dead, return. I'm gonna look into that. But if current health is less than or equal to 0, then death, and then you have to establish what death actually is. Is dead equals true, then destroy game object, and that's what death is. It'll destroy the game object because being dead is true, and that means that we have no more life, because we're equals or greater than less than 0. And I still need to know what the return part is. I don't know why I have that in there. It may not need to be in there. Oh wait, no. Okay, so this just connects is dead to the death part. This establishes what is dead is. I don't understand that return part though. I need to look into that. But anyway, for player health, right? So this is enemy health. For player health, so much more needs to be established, and that's where the bulk of my issues were coming from. They can't be as simple for whatever effing reason as the enemy health. It has to be this whole huge song and dance for no fucking reason. And for the most part, with the exception of this portion of the script, everything else is needed. It's kind of simplistic, but it's definitely a lot more lines than I anticipated and needed, and that's where a lot of my confusion was coming in. Oh wait, no. Well, yeah. When you watch tutorials, it's not. This is actually more simple than it would look. All the green stuff you can ignore; those are notes for me. But everything in white, so it's only really, you can ignore anything that says slider, because you don't need that. So I guess for our player character taking damage, it only has 3 lines, and then we just have to establish that these 3 lines, when this last line, death, happens, we need to establish something for death, and then another 3 lines. So I guess ultimately it was simple. Maybe it was player combat that was confusing, and that was just because I didn't understand what any of that meant. I know what this means. This portion says enemy.getComponent, meaning it needs to it's grabbing a reference, and it's grabbing a reference to our enemy health, which is over here to the right, and it's saying in grabbing the enemy health, this is what we're subtracting from when we add our attack damage. That's what this is saying. All of this is saying upon contact of attacking an object, then we implement, how much damage we're giving it. And this portion doesn't make sense to me. I don't see how anyone could ever figure this out without following a tutorial, and that's a portion of what took a lot of my focus away this week, trying to understand that I even needed that. And then once I found out that I needed that, I didn't understand why I needed that. There was no breakdown. The tutorials didn't explain why you would need that, what you're actually grabbing when you type these things. And I think that's where a lot of my time got pulled up. Also, over here to the right again, projectile bullet needed to be able to deliver damage. And I was having issues with that too, figuring out how to do it. But of course, when I got that down, I was able to do both health scripts to write. So, and they're readable too. This just states that on trigger enter 2D, meaning there will be a trigger once on trigger enter 2D, collider 2D other. So what this says is the bullet has a collider, something that touches other objects if they too have a collider. And this says that when the bullet's collider touches something, it will be triggered, and the trigger will, if the other object is player, the trigger will initiate an attack, and then the attack just says that the player health, because it has a reference to our player. Where is he? Our player health. How does he know? Okay, yeah. So this portion says pretty much connects this script to our player health. So when the bullet fires, it knows that it can interact with the player health script, which is this script here. It can interact with the player health script. And as long as the player health script is attached to the player. So these 2 lines allow the bullet to interact with the player and the player health script. And this just says that on collision, if the collision happens with the player, we can initiate attack. And then attack, we just have to establish what attack means. Attack means player health, and current health of that player will equal the player health and the current health of that player minus whatever attack damage we set in the bullet. Whatever damage that the bullet can do, it will interact with the player health and the current player health, and then it will subtract. And then it says if the player's health and the current health of that player are greater than 0, we can deliver that damage and subtract from it. Because once it's at 0 or less than 0, we can no longer interact with it. He won't be there, or he should be dead. We no longer need to. So that's what's happening here. And if we show this, again, I think I showed it to you already. But yeah, so as we take damage, we're taking over here. If you look from 90 to 80 to 70. To 60, and this will just keep happening until we die. And once we die, our player character is no longer acknowledged within the game, so our enemy no longer has a reason to shoot, and the bullet will no longer come out to do damage, of course. So that's what took me a week to figure out, unfortunately. I also have a UI system, so if I play that again, and I'm gonna make this just a little bit bigger so that you can I guess it doesn't really do that, but if you look here in the top right, top left corner, and you watch as we take damage, the slider actually works on the UI system, and it'll slowly subtract our life. There we go. That's weird. I think I need to extend it a little bit. It might be not enough in there to acknowledge at the beginning. But as you can see, the slider is slowly moving. Our health is dropping. Right over here, so dropping slowly. It's in the white zone, and then eventually we'll die completely, and then there'll be no health there. So that's, excuse me, that's what took me a week, literally a week to figure out, and I apologize for that. It was very hard. I was having issues with that. I was having issues with, I needed to redo a lot of things on the bullet, and then as I did that, the bullet started to just fall off the screen when we ran it, and I needed the bullet to go straight, and I thought I had that figured out, and it wasn't figured out. Originally, what I thought I needed to do, oops, I think it's the rigid. Yeah, with the rigid, I thought I just needed to freeze its position, which is what I did initially when it was working, and then when I redid the bullet and did it and froze the Y value so it wouldn't like drop off or anything, it kept continuing to drop off, and I was trying to figure out why. You know, the bullet had so much gravity on it, and the position said that it was frozen, but it was never frozen, so I had to figure that out. Ended up redoing the bullet a few times, and then, you know, there was just so much that I was running into. It was ridiculous. But this is what I have for this week. For next week, this is what I have from the previous week. This week, I will be tackling, you know, updating that UI system so that you can even notice that there's a health bar in the corner over there. And then that one might take a little time as far as design, but I'll get a generic one down just so that we could see it. And then later on, when I figure out what I really want it to look like, I'll implement that. But till then, I'll create a generic one, and then I also want to look into how to keep things consistent from scene to scene. Because as you see, if you look at the UI right now, it's there, and then if I walk into another room, it doesn't exist, but if I walk back, it's back there again. So I want to figure out how to keep things consistent from scene to scene. And then on top of that, I'm not sure what all I want to do. I had a list. I do have a list. I just gotta pick and choose what I want to do from that list. But I definitely want to get the UI system made a little bit better. I don't think I want to move into animations just yet. There's still some things that I want to figure out as far as coding and implementing. Since I already have animation down, I understand it, and for the most part, I understand how to add it to the characters and stuff, add it to scripts. So I'm not really worried about that as much. So right now, I just want to continue to have a little bit of fun and a lot more understanding of how the coding process works. So I think I'll go into UI next and figure out how to make that consistent across rooms, make the player's positioning consistent across rooms. I might even mess around with enemy traversal, so the enemy being able to follow us into other rooms. I want to see if that's something I can do, because that would be something great to add. Or at least a state where, like, if he saw us and he's following us, that when we go into another room, he'll also at some point appear in that room to search for us, type of thing. You know, get a little bit of Metroid fusion up in there, but I'll just look around. But for the most part, it's keeping things consistent as far as the UI following us into next rooms. I also want to add, that's what it was. I wanted to be able to add a health system. I mean, additions to the health system where we run into health items and we gain health. So I want to mess around with that just to understand how that works. And then also, so in normal, you know, in Castlevania, it's called MP, which is magic points. And of course, in this MechaVania, it will also need its version of that. I forget what I call it in for my game, what I wanted to call it, but it'll essentially be like magic points, and I want to figure out how that system works also. So getting health items, having magic points to expend and replenish. A slow healing bar type thing for the magic points, not for health, at least not yet. But as far as the as far as the magic points go, I wanted to figure out how to make that slowly replenish on its own. So I think I'll look into that next as well. So I guess more so everything will kind of be tied into health and the UI system. And then after that, I guess in the next video, I'll share the rest of the notes that I have for everything that I want to tackle in future videos. But until then, thank you for joining me. Sorry it took me so long to figure out the health system. It really was hard for me, but I can confidently say that I understand it now, with the exception of the attack portion that I don't understand, which I, of course, will be looking into because I would like to understand. So that'll be happening, no worries. But thank you. Sorry I didn't have too much to show, but I'm proud of what I could show. And next week, hopefully, I can show you guys that I can keep things consistent from stage to stage. So thank you. Have a good day.